Okay, this chapter is just something else. It's not your average chapter at all because there are two things happening at the same time. There's the dish, and then there is the Satoshi Nana thing. The Satoshi Nana deal right there. And let me start with the Satoshi Nana deal. This is big because I'm sure that they're setting up Isshki to be with Nana. I mean, guaranteed. It just seems that way. They have a childhood together that's rich with history. They, I mean, it's just kind of obvious to me now, especially now that he's giving her a pet talk and he kind of teases her all the time. So it's kind of becoming more obvious that Nana and Satoshi are having some sort of relationship being built around them. I'll be honest. At first, I thought Satoshi Ishiki was gay. I mean, he kind of gave me the impression that he was a very intimidating gay guy. That was all cheery and stuff. When it came to cooking, he was like, "Geez, I don't want to be in the same kitchen with that guy." So like outside of the kitchen, he was that flamboyantly gay person. At least that's what I originally thought. And then inside the kitchen, he was. But obviously, that notion is kind of crushed now after seeing this. It just turned my perspective on Satoshi on its head. Now, that aside, I, I, I don't know what specifically this dish is, but there is a knot between the dish and the history Ishiki has with Nana Kinokuni. There is a knot somewhere that ties those two together. The way this dish is prepared, the way this dish is made, and Satoshi Ishiki's history with Nana. Because he said that, because Satoshi Ishiki said that if it wasn't for Nana, he'd probably have given up on cooking. And this is my guess. We have seen the type of stress that he was put on during the first flashback we got in his first battle, where uh, his father and his family members basically kind of were part of a traditional cuisine sort of deal going on there. So they were running a traditional Japanese restaurant, and his father would force him to cook a certain way because Ishiki, this is the way you cook. You are traditionally Japanese, so on and so forth. Then Ishiki, when he came here, he like developed his own cuisine style. So I think we're gonna get a flashback of Nana making him actually like traditional Japanese cooking when he really hated it because everyone in his family kind of forced it on him. And then when he came to Totsuke, I'm gonna be creative. I'm going to cook my fish using perle, just like Yukihira does. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Obviously, that example was not something he actually did, but it's something that he knows about, and obviously, I'm pretty sure he has used it in a few dishes, French techniques in Japanese cooking. I guarantee you, he knows some Italian techniques too, and techniques from all over. And it just makes sense that way because he's a guy that is known for being innovative, just like Soma, but he has a very strong traditional Japanese background. So that's going to be interesting because I'm guessing Ishiki is going to be that one person that really does blend the traditional Japanese cooking as opposed to the street Japanese cooking with food cultures from all over the world. Yukihira, his style is taking Japanese street foods or street food in general and then mixing it with stuff. That is the Yukihira way. The Ishiki way is taking traditional Japanese cooking and then adding a spin on it. Say, oh, I'm going to add a little bit of Italian in here. I'm going to add a little bit of Mediterranean. I'm going to add a little bit of French, so to speak. So that's what I'm getting off of those two characters specifically. Now, the dish. And I'd like to talk about personal experience before I get into this because uh, I'll be honest, I don't know that much about the won dish, the Japanese dish called won, the same dish that Ishki's making. But when it comes to wild game, I have seen multiple butcherings of animals. I have seen my fair share of those. I have seen people cook different animals throughout my life, and I could tell you that cooking different animals requires different techniques. especially rabbits. Rabbits, if you over, I mean, they're kind of like, and I know you've heard this. You could cook a rabbit so that its meat is like red, but you could also cook a rabbit so it looks like a chicken. That's the interesting thing about rabbits is if you overcook it, it's gonna be really hard, and it's just terrible that way. And you know, it goes without saying that every single animal it has a different way of cooking. You know, you don't cook camel the same way you cook beef because camel meat is very hard and dry. And especially camel liver. I mean, the only part of the camel that I actually really like and I have tasted that I really appreciate is the camel heart. But you know what I mean? Like, these things are very varied when it comes to specific cuisine, when it comes to cooking specific foods. So you really need to know what you're doing when you're cooking a animal that's not beef, that you're not used to, because cooking beef is one thing, cooking anything else is different. You don't cook beef the same way you cook pork, and that applies to every single animal out there. Now, moving on, there was an emphasis on lack of muddiness in the wand, so I'm guessing it's going to be a clear dish. We have seen that he's put a little bit of stuff in the dish, little bit of. It didn't look like meat. I think the meat's already in there, but it looks like he put something like leaves and herbs, basically. So I wonder what that's going to be. Um, yeah, and this is the thing, though. This is the thing. This episode is setting up Ishki's defeat, but at the same time, justification for him to be the first seat. Let me clarify. Let me explain why. Ishki will lose, I am sure. But when you go back at it after he's chosen to be the first seat, you'll be like, oh, okay. Well, it makes sense because this is Tsukasa's specialty. Tsukasa has cooked many rabbits. And despite Ishki's dish being great, you know, this is a guy that probably cooked like thousands of rabbits in his life. Just saying. So it's not even going to be close, you know. You have Tsukasa, the current first seat, who is cooking something in his area of specialties. Now, if it was like if the main theme was sushi, I guarantee you, Ishki would knock would knock Tsukasa Ishii out of the water. I guarantee you. But I think this is a justification for uh, for Satoshi Ishiki to lose, for Ishiki Satoshi to lose, and Tsukasa to win, and then afterwards, Satoshi becomes the first seat. So it's justification for that later on, I'm guessing. That is just my perspective on the matter. And if you agree with me, you agree with me, and if you don't, well, you don't. Until next time, guys, this is Anime Gypsy, and I'm out.